Bet on it right around the corner, Christmas edition. We're going to get right into it with the guys. Oh boy, I can hear the comment section already, but it is Tuesday morning before Christmas, and I elected to give the entire video team Christmas Eve off. So we're recording early, which means you guys are getting a limited show here, and I don't want to hear about it because we're giving you guys our best bets still. Marco's still going to put out his deli video on Friday, and VR is going to take Friday and give you guys a special edition of the Steam Room. So make sure you guys hang out right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel and check those out. But we're going to give you guys best bets for week 17 in the NFL because it is just too early. VR, you kind of were talking about it off camera, so I'm going to let you have the floor and explain why Tuesday morning we should not be giving out significant amounts of NFL bets.
No, because the truth is we want to give actionable information, and the viewers and subscribers at WagerTalk aren't like your guys that just got into sports betting. Like, these guys are watching this show because they want to pick off some sharp information, something that they might have overlooked, something that they think may not be factored into the betting line. And this early in the week, we just don't have access to that much information. And I never want to put myself or the bettors in a position where we're leaning one way without having all of the info available. And like you said, it's Tuesday, it's 8 a.m. here on the West Coast. And between now and kickoff, a lot's going to happen. You got to remember, there's the must-win situations, the teams that don't care. The narratives between now and kickoff will be solidified, which isn't the case so far. And just to find out who's playing, who's not playing, there's a lot that's going to go in to that betting line between now and Sunday. So I think it's the best move is just narrow down that best bet that you know you're already firing, that you already got down on. That is fine. But to give a bunch of opinions without conviction, we're not here to waste the viewers' time. We're here to give them winners.
Yeah, in years past, we did a Christmas special, except for this year, the Commanders are playing with the third-string quarterback. The Vikings are playing with the third-string quarterback, exactly. And so are the Kansas City Chiefs. I saw a funny thing in our Slack channel earlier. Someone was like, smash or pass, and they said, well, I'm passing on all of the Christmas games. I'm not, because I'm using Cowboys and Survivor, so pray for my family. But I think that at that point in time, we've got a lot of teams on the outside of the playoffs looking in. Broncos are headed to the playoffs, but they still are going to want to beat up on the Chiefs. There's a lot to really unpack there as far as a betting perspective goes, VR. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you let us know for Christmas alone what you have power rating wise? Kind of give the viewers a little synopsis of maybe what a couple of those games should look like. But to try to talk about a drop off between a first string quarterback like Patrick Mahomes and a third string quarterback now that Gardner Minshew is out for the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, we're talking a significant line move here.
That's the problem. And you just don't have a big enough sample size to have any kind of conviction. That's the negative here. And as a bettor, you have to take a pause and really ask yourself the question, am I getting the best of it by laying 11 to win 10? We already know it's hard enough to lay 11 to win 10. 0.5% of people on the planet have the ability to overcome that hold. So we know it's a very difficult thing to do. But now when you have a bunch of questions that you can't answer, like you're now going way out on the risk curve, but your return's not changing. That's the problem. We're still laying 11 to 10. So when it's a situation like that, you have to just let it go. You have to pass. You have to take a step back, look up on the board and say, is this really the best spot that I could get my money down? And that's the problem you're having, because look at Dallas, Washington. Let's just start off with that game. The look ahead was 3, went to 4, 4.5, 6, 6.5, 7. When a line moves like that, your only option is, has it moved too much in one direction to where now that's the value side? Because you can't bet the favorite anymore. This is a show about betting plus EV situations, looking for winning bets, not looking to be the product of good luck. And you can't tell anyone out there that it's a good idea now to go out there and lay 7 with Dallas when they could have laid 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5. So why were you waiting to lay 7? I know I've said this over and over and sound like a broken record, but bettors continue to do it. So obviously the message isn't getting through. So with spots like that, you have to be able to tell yourself, I missed the boat. The train's left the station. So it's dog or pass. Do I like Washington right now? against Dallas or don't I? If I don't, then it's automatic. And that's the situation here. You look at Detroit, Minnesota, the same. Look ahead was 3.5. Now you're looking at 6. Denver and Kansas City. The look ahead was 5.5. Now you're looking at 13.5. So all of those games, the favorite has moved so significantly. Unless you got out ahead of the market, your only choice now is there value on the dog or leave it alone? The negative there is the power ratings are going to reflect value on the dogs. Washington's power rated less than 7 points. Minnesota's power rated less than 6 points. And Kansas City's power rated less than 13 points, obviously, against Denver. But what's difficult to quantify is what's the motivation now? Forget the drop-offs and the backups and who's playing, but now what are you playing for? And that's so difficult to quantify. That's the difficulty with the Christmas games. Where you can find value other than player props, team totals, that kind of stuff, is wait until the public gets involved and knock some of these lines out of whack. That's the only way you could get down now if you haven't gotten out ahead of the market. Meaning, again, I don't mean to go long, but if you have Dallas -5 in your pocket, you did your job. You have Detroit -5 in your pocket, you did your job. Denver minus a touchdown, you did your job. They got to go out there and do yours. There's nothing you can do about it. But where we stand right now, Tuesday morning, it's too late to bet those favorites. We now have to sit back and wait and see, does the public continue pushing those up where now there actually is some value on the dogs, or do they come in the other way and actually start betting some of these dogs, which now opens up value again on the favorites? But until the betting public gets involved, starts moving some of these favorites and dogs, some of these overs and unders, we just got to sit back and wait. That's the key over these holidays, because people are off from work, people have fat pockets, or they're chasing fat pockets, and they're going to be betting these games. They're going to be betting these standalone TV games, rest assured, and that money's going to move these lines. Sit back, wait for the feeding frenzy to begin, and then go in there and get your food. There's no reason to rush. That's what I'm telling bettors this week, Kel.
Marco Claus, welcome into the show. You are the star of the show every Christmas edition of Bet On It. I wanted to kind of get your opinion as well here, not only for the Christmas games, but we also have different situations, right? It used to be week 16 and 17. Now it's week 16, 17, and 18. We know there are teams eliminated from the playoffs. We know that these injury reports are a mile long, and we're not going to get them till Fridays generally. And of course, we know that you get to play spoiler. For example, your Pittsburgh Steelers got a nice win there in Detroit, and now they just have to go beat up on the lowly Browns that have nothing to play for. Kind of break down some of these situational spots, what people should be looking at for this weekend. I know you're going to do your deli segment as well here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel on Friday, but I kind of wanted to get your idea of how to handicap these next 2 weeks from a situational perspective.
Well, Kelly, that's a perfect example, the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game on Sunday, because not only do you have the situation where Cleveland can play spoiler, it's their arch rival. They love to be able to prevent Pittsburgh from winning the division on Sunday. Now, how they can win the division on Sunday here gives you the other wrinkle, and it affects this game immensely. The line right now on that game is 4. Pittsburgh plays on Sunday. Baltimore plays on Saturday. If Baltimore gets beat on Saturday, it's over. Pittsburgh wins the division. They don't even have to play on Sunday. So now when you're betting and handicapping and playing in advance, you're betting a game that maybe the Steelers are going to pull people and not play starters if they don't have to. We don't know that till after the game on Saturday and what the Steelers decide to do Sunday morning. So that's another wrinkle. Do you want to guess and say, hey, yeah, Baltimore's going to win on Saturday and this game's going to mean something? I guarantee you, if Baltimore loses on Saturday, you're going to see the line on Pittsburgh-Cleveland crash. Absolutely, because it means nothing for the Steelers because they can't improve themselves. They're going to be the worst division winner. They'll have the 4 seed no matter what happens. So that adds other intangibles. And as VR said, when you're talking the final few weeks, there's going to be a boatload of teams that it's a must win. That is always factored into the line. You're always going to pay a premium for those teams. And oftentimes the value is actually on the other teams. Look last week. Buffalo, they're in must win mode the rest of the way. They barely got by Cleveland. Dog covered. Houston, they're fighting for position with the playoffs. They're in, but are they going to be the 5, 6, or 7 seed? They barely got by the lowly Raiders. So don't assume just because a team needs to win that they're going to blow somebody out. There's a lot of value on the other side. So those are the things you got to be careful about. One other tip I'll give you, if you have two teams that are out of it, have nothing to play for, if I'm playing the total, there's only one way I'm playing the total. It's either an over in that game or nothing. And the reason for that is because if teams don't care and aren't going to be motivated, you think, well, they're not going to do anything. No, everybody can score. It takes more effort to play defense than it does to play offense. And oftentimes in these last couple weeks of the season, with two teams that are out of it, it ends up being like a flag football game, like we see in all-star games. Nobody wants to get hurt. They're not going full bore, and they'll go up and down the field. So just remember that rule late in the season, unless weather becomes a factor with wind or something. Two teams that are eliminated, it's over or past the game.
Great information from both Gianni the Greek and Marco Claus. So we're going to give you guys our best bets for this weekend. And obviously those are ones that we have the most of the information, as well as some significant line value. VR, I'm going to let you go first, kind of break it down. This was one I did yesterday with KIV and Crack. I already bet this total.
Yeah.
He gave it out live on the show, and I'm happy to know that you're on it as well.
Yeah, Philly, Buffalo under. Anything 44 or better, you're gold. We went under 45. Bottom line is this: you have two opposite teams, meaning the strength of these teams is opposite. Both power rated, top 5. Obviously, Buffalo #1 power rated team when it comes to the AFC. The difference is the offense and the defense, because strength of schedule is very comparable. Philly had a tougher strength of schedule, but not all that much tougher. But here's the difference maker: Buffalo's a top 3 offense. Philly's a top 3 defense. Philly's barely a top 15 offense. Buffalo's barely a top 20 defense. So Buffalo's the A side when it comes to offense. Philly's the A side when it comes to defense. Where we're getting value on this total is the recency bias of both these teams. You have a Buffalo team that's coming in, having scored 26 or more in 3 of their last 4. In fact, in 5 of their last 6, they've been putting up a lot of points. 3 straight overs, with only one of those totals below 49. So they've had high totals of late, and they've flown over those totals. Philadelphia coming off a high scoring game where they put up 29 points. They put up 31 the week before that. But when in doubt, zoom out. And when we zoom out a little bit on Philadelphia, what do we see? A bunch of low scoring games where that defense really showed up and the offense had a little bit of problems. Philly lost those 3 straight games in between there, where they lost to Dallas, they lost to Chicago, they lost to the Chargers, all very close, more or less 1-score games, because their defense kept it in there. That's going to be the differentiator that makes this total lower scoring than that, the narrative of, 2 higher scoring teams of late. That Philly defense is going to give Buffalo problems, even in Buffalo. And I think you're going to get a lot slower paced game where they're not having that average number of plays that they're usually accustomed to. I think that Philadelphia defense is going to cause a lot of 3 and outs. Look for the team with the last possession, more or less, to get the W. Low scoring, 44 better, go under. That's my best bet for NFL this week.
I'll give you guys a little hint. That's also going to be in Marco's Deli video. I'm very excited to hear his breakdown and why there may be a trap scenario in that game. So make sure you guys check that out on Friday afternoon when it drops here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Marco, since you're dressed for the occasion, I'm going to let you give out our Christmas special here on WagerTalk.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas from WagerTalk. And what we are doing this week, whether you've been naughty or nice, you're going to get a coupon code where you can save 25% on anything at WagerTalk. load up your shopping cart. It could be a daily package, a weekly package, a monthly package, even a yearly package. And we're going to give you 25% off. Just use coupon code Xmas25. Type that in at checkout, and we will take 25% off your entire order. You can use it as many times as you want on as many packages you want. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you've been naughty or nice. You could have been naughty like Kelly or nice like Ace. Either way, 25% off this week at WagerTalk. And Kelly, for my best bet this week, we're going to go with a total as well. And I'm going to take a look at the Carolina-Seattle game. Now, we got a total of 42.5 in this game. And anyone that watched that Thursday night game last week between the Rams and Seattle, the last thing they're going to want to do is bet an under in this game with that total that low. Seattle won 38-37 in a barn burner. Well, got to point out, Carolina isn't the LA Rams. They're not going to go up and down the field like they did Thursday night, the Rams did. Carolina has scored 23 or less in 7 of their last 9 games. And now they're going to be facing one of the NFL's top defenses. Carolina, on the flip side, has allowed 20 or less in 5 of their last 7 games. Both teams are coming off big divisional games last week and have a big game on deck next week as well. I look for Seattle to get back to their power ground game. They have rushed for 114 or more yards in 6 of their last 7 games. Seattle will chew up clock by running the football. Carolina, on the flip side, can run the football as well and shorten the game even more. I look at this game, and I see 37 or less points in this one. We're going to go ahead, take the under. And I'll tell you, go ahead and probably wait on this one because the public is not going to bet the under on this one. They'll probably tick it up a little bit for you. But I like Carolina-Seattle under 42.5 is my best bet for this week.
Oh, boy. I also like a play in that game, but I did not get to the window with them just yet. I will make sure to tweet that out for all of you guys. But this is a game that I already did bet, plus 5.5. We all know that's my favorite line to bet in the NFL. The dogs seem to be barking more at that number than any other one. 4.5 too. They bark a lot at 4.5, but 5.5 down to 5 now. Tampa Bay on the road at Miami. Let's talk about that Tampa Bay team. And, well, they haven't covered 7 straight games. And now I'm betting against them. But I did bet against them last week. And I told you guys that the Panthers were going to win. And they got it done for us at home. And take a page out of Marco Claus's book. They are, the Bucs, that is, are in a Panthers sandwich. Not sure how much this game means right here for the Buccaneers. And I know Tua Tagovailoa, he's gone. Quinn Ewers, he leaves less than to be desired. But the Bucs, who have lost 3 straight to all division opponents, even though they held a second half lead in each, they just can't get it done. Baker Mayfield, the guy that I was screaming 3 months ago was the MVP, is having a hell of a time. He threw another interception for the 3rd straight game. And of course, that one last week sealed the deal against the Panthers. But man, it was just rough, and it has been rough. And I don't see this Buccaneers team limping into the playoffs anymore. Marco mentioned games that matter, games that don't matter. Of course, these guys still want to play, but they've got the Panthers circled at home next week for the division. The Bucs scored less than 20 points or fewer in their last 5 games. I'm telling you right now, this is a Miami team that's struggling to score and looks awful. Guess what? This is the place to score against this damaged Buccaneers defense. Just take a peek at that injury list early on in the week. Give me the Dolphins plus 5 here to keep it close at home in Miami. Again, I'm a little nervous about Quinn Ewers, but it is what it is. We will see possibly him play a little bit better in his 2nd game, especially after getting crushed by the Bengals last week. Ooh, woof. Marco, Gianni, I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas, and I hope all of you guys watching at home do as well. Enjoy the time with your families. But if you guys get a chance, make sure you head over to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Check out our college football bowl games that we like up until New Year's, and of course, the shortened edition of the Mega Show.